Good afternoon, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome back to our channel. We are not easily broken. I'm Michelle Easley.
And I'm Rodney Easley.
So, if you're new here, welcome. If you are returning, thanks for coming back. So, today we're going to talk about a topic that is quite personal for us.
Yes.
We are going to just give you a little insight into some things that we have dealt with in our marriage. Yeah.
So you saw the title, guys, right? When trouble come, keep them together. We're going to get into that.
So I will start by saying the title, where it came from. So when Rodney and I got married, two of my uncles married us. So my mom's brother and then my dad's brother. And one of my uncles, when he prayed over us, he said, when trouble comes, Lord, keep them together. And so that has been a prayer. My uncle has since passed away.
Yeah.
But that has been a prayer that has kept us bound.
Yeah.
We believe that the Lord answered that prayer that was prayed over us that day 26 years ago.
Yes.
So with that, that's where we got the title from. So I'm going to let Rodney go ahead and begin.
Yeah. So, like the title said, when trouble comes, Lord, keep them together. So, when you get married and you're looking forward to that day and everybody's happy, it's the best day of your life, right? And so everybody's happy about that. But what about when trouble comes? And it's not a matter of if it's going to come, but it's a matter of when it comes.
Yeah.
So I had an issue with anger. Didn't know why I was an angry young man, and as long as I could remember, I was a quick-tempered person and didn't understand why. But what I did know is I had an absentee father, and when he did come around, he was abusive to my mother. And I do remember that was the first time experiencing anger. But I also came from a family where we didn't share our feelings. We didn't talk about it. We didn't communicate it. Everybody just deal with it on your own. And so how do a young kid process his mother being abused? You get angry. But you feel like you can't say nothing or do nothing, so you move on. And then something else happens in your life, and something else happens in your life. And no one's there to help you process those things. And so your anger just builds and builds and builds and builds. So over time, I started looking into myself. I would just shut down and try to deal with it myself. So now we have years of that. How I deal with things is much differently from the way she was raised and how she deal with things.
Yeah.
I deal with it by not dealing with it. You see what I'm saying? Put your head in the sand and let it go away, or you just move on and, the next day will be better.
Yeah.
But that's not true all the time, because if you don't deal with that issue is still there. It may not be bothering you at the moment, but it's still there. And there's going to come a time where it's going to raise its ugly head again. My anger got so bad at one point, I would just blow up. And, now I'm married, I have a family, I'm in church, and I'm reading the book of Proverbs and what it says about a quick-tempered man, which was who I am. Stay away from a quick-tempered man. And those things began to convict me. And I remember me and Michelle had this real bad fight. I was at work.
argument.
Yeah. No, I wasn't abusive.
We were not.
No.
We never physically fought.
No.
But
No.
a real bad argument.
Argument, yeah.
Yes.
So when I say if I'm talking about argument, we had this real bad argument, and I was at work, and I cussed her out. Now here I am, professed to be a believer, and I cussed her out on the phone. That's when I said, I got to do something about this. And I went and got help. I went to this thing called Celebrate Recovery, which she was already a part of. And you deal with your hurts, habits, and hang-ups. And I went there, and I remember the first time I went there, and this is a Christian-based program, and the scary part about it was at my own church. And so these is with people that I have been going to church with for years, friends of mine who had no idea of the things that I was going through. Now I'm getting ready to share some of my darkest secrets with these people. Needless to say, the first time I didn't share. I just kind of listened and listened to other people share. And then I started sharing a little bit at a time each week that I came. I would share a little bit more every time I came, a little bit more. And so God just told me to keep coming, keep showing up. Don't give up, keep showing up. And so that's what I did. I showed up week after week, and I began to open up a little bit more until I felt comfortable enough to share my deepest and darkest secrets. And let me tell you guys, once I did that, it was like a weight was lifted off me. I was like, phew, because I no longer had to hide and pretend who I was. That was the beginning. Yeah. And I continued to just work on that. And I mean, of course, it wasn't no magic pill. It just go away. But once I acknowledged and I got in the program, and I started remembering the things that made me angry, started hashing out things that I had suppressed and even forgot about. But as I got into the program, these things started coming back. Once I started going through those things, the anger started going away. It started going away. And we tried everything. We went to counseling. In the meantime, that bought us a little time. We went to a
weekend to
remember program.
It was
a
Christian,
marriage retreat. Marriage retreat Christian. We did that, but it just bought us time. I would blow up, be mad for a day, 2 days, and then I'm sorry. Then we blow up, mad for a day, 2 days, and then I'm sorry. It's just repeating the same thing. What's that saying?
Insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again, looking for a different result.
Yes. And so that was my story in a nutshell as far as my anger. But once I dealt with it, guys, the weight was lifted.
Yeah.
Once I admit, because God tells us to admit our faults to ourselves, to someone I trust, and to Him. Well, admitting to myself wasn't even easy to do that.
Yeah.
To just say to myself, "Hey, you got a problem." But I came to a point to where I could do that, and I could admit it to God. But what I couldn't do is admit it to somebody I trust, because I trusted no one. And that was the hardest part for me to do.
Yeah. So in from my standpoint, I came from a family. My parents were divorced. My dad was I would say, the way I saw him growing up was he he didn't want to make waves. So he would just, go along to get along type of person. My mother, on the other hand, was a fiery person. She would, read you from top to bottom if she felt like you did something wrong to her. So, getting with Rodney, I feel like his anger was something I knew. It was something probably comfortable to me. We can be comfortable in things that are bad for us and things that are not, things that are not good. But I was familiar. It was familiar to me. And then at that time, I was a people pleaser, and so his anger just made me try harder. His anger made me, go behind him, cleaning up messes with the kids, myself, whatever, whoever. It just made me go behind him because I'm going to make everything okay. And the more I do, the less he's going to be angry. Yeah. That's the way I saw it. And so, of course, from my standpoint, it created burnout for me. Because, first of all, you cannot be everything to everybody. You can't. We can't. You just can't. And so me trying to do that, trying to be everything to him, everything to the kids, still function myself, I worked and, so just all those things, it just started to snowball. And, the incident that he's talking about where he felt like this was the end for him and he felt like at this point I need to do something about this. We were going to divorce. We had, that night that happened, he was working graveyard at the time and he was at work or he was going to work and I wasn't home. And I had went out and talked to, a lady from my church who I was close to, just sharing and, just trying to navigate all that was going on. And then we had that confrontation and, something that Rodney used to say to me all the time was, well, why are you with me? Now, looking back, now I understand that was just his insecurity and he was just waiting for me to go. He was waiting for me to leave him. And it wasn't that he wanted me to go or that's what he wanted, but him saying that was his way of protecting himself and pushing me away and just like, okay, it's inevitable. So let me just open the door for her, basically.
That's the easiest way.
Yeah.
For me to deal with it.
Yeah. So, when that incident happened and we were like, okay, we just gonna go our separate ways. And I believe it was during the holidays, towards the end of the year, because we talked about, okay, let's get through Christmas and then we'll talk to the kids and we'll sell the house and do whatever we need to do. Talked about that. So for me, I was at the end of myself and it was like, okay, fine. Because coming from a divorced home, I didn't want that for my family. I did not want that for my family. And so I would overcompensate and do all kinds of things to make sure that wasn't happening. I mean, I have sat with myself telling myself, you're fine, you'll be fine as long as the kids are okay. Which was a lie. Because if I'm not okay, how can my kids be okay? If he's not okay, how can our kids be okay? Right. So that was a lie that I was selling to myself. So when we came to the end of that, and his end was, okay, I need to do something about this. My end was, let's just go our separate ways and be great parents because this ain't working. So, at that point, I had already gone into counseling through Celebrate Recovery, which is a Christian-based 12-step program, like he said. So I had already started going, and when I started going, he was like, I would never go. I would never sit up and talk about my problems to people that know me already, strangers, whatever. He was like, I'm not doing it. So I said, fine, I'm going to do it for me because at this point, like I said, I'm burnt out and I'm just like, I got to do something. This is not the life that God had for me. He does not want me just to be miserable and stay. So when he got to the end of himself, then he started going to Celebrate Recovery. And honestly, I was just like, that's fine for you. Like, I mean, good for you. I'm happy for you. I want you to be good. I want you to be happy. But that don't have nothing to do with me.
And it doesn't. That's not the way the program works. The program is for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for you, for her. It's when I went, I was going for me.
Right. So, for us, we went through that program, and I dealt with me and my issues, and he dealt with himself and his own issues, and then we were able to come back together. So looking back, that was the turning point for us. Mm-hmm. That was the turning point for us. And now, so then from there, from the turning point, it's like, okay, now do the work to actually stay together. Mm-hmm. And that was probably 2016, 2017, something like that. So at that point we turned and we started doing the work. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it was easy, because it wasn't. And if you know anything about, just being in conflict in relationships, you start to this is how the person is. This is how I react to the situation. So even though he was changing and he was doing things differently and he wasn't getting angry like he did before, I was waiting for it to happen. Mm-hmm. For months and months. I was like, okay, all right, I see you. Yeah, I see you changing and doing the things you're doing, but I'm waiting for the real Rodney to show up again.
Yeah. Please stand up.
Yeah, because at that time we had already been married like more than 10 years, and if you remember from our earlier video, Rodney and I have been together since I was 19 years old. Yeah. So we already been through this. We done been on this roller coaster for a long, long time. So I'm just like, okay, yeah, I see you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Right. But I'm going to say this, watch, and we're going to see what's going to happen after I say this. Or I do this, or, just normal life, not me doing it on purpose, but just like, okay, in the past, if this is what happened, this is how he will react. And so I was waiting for him to react that way.
Yeah. And in the past, like I said, we went through counseling, mm-hmm. and that bought us time. Yeah. But the counseling didn't deal with our personal issues. Right. And that was the difference. Yeah. That was the real difference. I mean, me just identifying the first time that I could get angry and why was I angry, and where that was coming from, mm-hmm. made a huge difference. Yeah. So.
Yep. For sure. Yeah. So now fast forward to today. We have come a long way, baby, as they say. Because there was a time that Rodney and I would sit in the same room or go out on a date. All these things, we've been married a long time. We would go out and we would purpose that we were going to have fun. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're not going to argue. We're going to have a good time together. Things like that, which is ridiculous.
Which is crazy that you got to sit up there and talk about, okay, we're not going to argue. Right. And then you get into an argument.
Right. So now, we genuinely enjoy time together. We genuinely enjoy each other's company. I always tell him that he stopped being funny to me. that was one of the things that attracted me to him, his sense of humor. And then he wasn't funny to me no more. And people be like, oh, Rodney is so funny. And I'm like, he ain't funny. But he never stopped being funny. He wasn't funny to me anymore because of our issues.
Yeah, the way she looked at me.
Yes. But thank God that that prayer bound us together, and that prayer was something that we valued spoken over us, something that we remembered. I know that prayer came to my mind when we was going through, and in talking to him, the same for you. Yeah. It came to your mind.
Yeah. That's why I hold on to that prayer. That prayer means a lot to me. Yeah. Because God has showed himself faithful. Yeah. And that's why we can sit here and, as the title of this channel is, not easily be broken. Yeah. because we've been through the fire.
Yeah.
You know, so
And God kept us.
and God has kept us.
And we don't look like what we've been through.
No.
Because nobody would guess, seeing us now, people that meet us now
Yeah.
and see us now and the relationship that we have, because he and I are very close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they can't believe that we've been through issues, or
Yeah.
that at one point in our relationship we was contemplating divorce.
Yeah. So that's it in a nutshell, guys. Our son came downstairs. See if he want to pop his head in so you guys can meet our son, who is another reason why we stayed together, because we know that divorces not only affect the two people involved, but it affects your children and those around you that love you. So I don't know, Joshua, come here, pop your head in here and say hello to the people. This is our baby boy.
Hello.
This is our baby boy, Joshua.
He's the one that's getting married soon.
He's getting married soon, yeah.
So again, with that, that's a legacy that we have now.
Yeah.
Because there was a time where our oldest daughter, who was, we have two older children, they were at the time, and she was like, I will never get married.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so that was an indictment on us.
Yes.
Because of the relationship that she saw with us.
Absolutely.
And so to hear our children at this point say they aspire to have a relationship like ours is a huge blessing.
Yeah.
Because we know and they know that we weren't always here.
Right.
So it's a tremendous blessing, and it's a testimony of that prayer.
Yeah.
It is a testimony of that prayer, that trouble came and we waded through it, and God kept us together.
Yeah.
With our help, because we could have said no.
Yeah. Right.
But with our participation,
Right.
God kept us together.
Exactly. With our willingness, to work at our marriage, and just to remember why we came together in the first place. Yeah. Because that gets lost, when your feelings is hurt and you fighting and you arguing at each other. Something my wife said to me, she said many times, I am not your enemy. And she's right. She's not my enemy. Although I saw her as the enemy at one time, but I no longer see her like that. And that's not to say that we don't get into arguments. We still do.
We still individuals.
Yeah, we still get into arguments, but I don't have those blow-ups like that.
And we're able to step away and come back together.
Yeah, and talk about it.
Because his thing was always leave me alone so I could cool down. Yeah. And my thing was always, no, but we got to talk about it. So the compromise is that I let him have his space, but his compromise is he going to come back so that we can sit down and discuss it and work on it, moving forward.
Yeah. So we hope this video helps somebody that's married, newly married, or even if you've been married for years.
Yeah.
And you're going through it. Listen, your spouse is not your enemy.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And listen, let me just say this. When trouble comes, we pray that God keeps you guys together.
Yeah. Amen.
All right, guys.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.